Wir haben für Sie jetzt einen tollen Case aus Tokio, und zwar haben wir live für Sie in wenigen Sekunden Marco Koeder. Und Marco Koeder sieht nicht nur sehr entspannt heute aus, weil ich glaube, bei dir ist gerade 15 Uhr oder 16 Uhr, also es ist eine ganz humane Zeit, um eine Live-Schaltung nach Tokio zu machen, sondern er ist auch einer der Experten für Asien im Thema Mobile. And I will switch now to English because we will also have the interview in English with Marco. So Marco is an expert for Asia and mobile consultant, and he works as digital business director for the agency James Walter Thomason, which is located in Japan since 1956. So quite a long while already there.
Steht.
Further, he is author of the wonderful book, 6 Immutable Laws of Mobile Business. And he gives wonderful lectures at the University of Japan. And today he is with us, and he will speak about new ways in publishing and commerce in Japan, because some of the trends which are also having a big influence on us, of course, they are happening in Asia, some years in advance. And so you are now reporting from the future to us. Marco, it's very nice to have you. Can you hear us? And we will welcome you with a wonderful applause from Vienna. So, guys, can you welcome Marco from Tokyo with a bit of supporting applause? Thanks. Wonderful, Marco. So, your stage, and I'm with you.
Hello, hello, everyone. Very nice to be here, at least virtually. So, I will try to give you a bit of an overview talking about Asia and especially the Japanese market. So let's start right away. I hope you can see my screen.
It's loading, it's coming.
Okay. So let's get started. First of all, let's have a look at Asia. And when I talk about Asia and digital, one thing becomes very, very clear about this market. It's a very mobile market. And it's also very strong and social. So when you look at the world map here from VR Social, actually Asia is the largest mobile and social media region in the world, if you look at the percentages. And when we look at the data breakdown in detail, well, the majority of the population owns a mobile phone. Some even own several mobile phones or several SIM cards. And about 22% of the population in Asia are actually accessing social media through their phones. So mobile is very, very important in that region. And when we compare it to the rest of the world, in Asia, people spend a lot of time on their mobile phones. So what you actually see on the left side, this is people going online mostly through their mobile phone. In the middle, that's more the European US region. That's people actually accessing the internet more through the PC. And on the right side, that is also, again, Asian region. This is people having multi-devices, but they're also mobile-centric. So the internet in Asia is the mobile. And when we look at classic TV, especially in the developing Asian markets, actually smartphones are stealing TV's lunch. So it's easier to reach people on their smartphones than it is to reach them on TV. And when we look at e-commerce, in terms of e-commerce, Asia is also very strong. If you look at the global e-commerce sales share by region, then Asia Pacific is really leading the pack. And also when you look at the total sales by market, then Asia Pacific is also the leading e-commerce region in the world. And in Asia, people are really app crazy. So this is from Mobi about app downloads, the percentage that accounts for app downloads in the world. And Asia Pacific is really the leader in people downloading apps to their mobile devices. And interestingly, also when we look at newspapers, this is a statistic from one IFRA, and when you look at the global growth in print newspaper circulation, actually that growth is due to the growth that we see in Asia Pacific. Circulations of newspapers are still growing. Yes, ad revenues are also decreasing in that region, but still it is a growing print newspaper region. So let's take a closer look at Japan itself. So in the beginning, I just want to take you a bit back to the future, show you a few things you might not have known, things that actually were born in Japan or were first launched in Japan and then in the rest of the world. I'll try to keep it quick, but still interesting. So the first camera-enabled phones were out in Japan in 2000, the rest of the world in 2002.
Marco, your video is
Yeah.
out. The presentation mood is out.
Yes.
So maybe you can bring us back in.
Hang on.
All good.
Does it work now?
Yeah, it's loading.
Da sieht man Wien, Tokio. Es ist doch eine
Can
lange
you see the
Strecke.
screen?
The loading.
Can you see my screen? Is it working?
No, yeah, now you're back. So yes, now you still have just to get the right one to the top. But now we're on your screen. Yeah, perfect, wonderful. We hear you and we see your charts.
Hello?
Yep. Marco?
Yes, hello?
Perfect, we hear you and we can see your charts, so you can go on with your presentation.
Okay, good. So yeah, this is going to be just a quick one to show you the innovations in Japan. The first fingerprint phones, that was 2002. GPS maps on your mobile phone. Most of Japanese phones had that back in 2004. QR codes had been around 2001, pre-installed on every Japanese phone actually in the market that had a camera installed. Talking about mobile businesses, actually the first mobile music business started in Japan. And I'm not talking about Jamba, ringtones, Crazy Frog, but 2006 you could already download full albums over the air to your mobile phone, something actually that you could do with the iPhone in 2011 in the West. And talking about business models, also since 2004, mobile payment,
Marco,
near-field communication, RFID, that was already in place and installed in about 95% of all Japanese handsets.
Marco, konnichiwa.
And the big free-to-play. Ja?
Du bist wieder offline, also ich muss dich nochmal in die Präsentation zurückbitten. Oder versuch's, ansonsten müssen wir es sonst irgendwie, genau, müssen wir es von hier aus steuern.
Back?
Ja, es lädt. So, jetzt bist du wieder da.
Okay. Yeah, so Japan actually was also the first country to successfully implement the free-to-play business model, and that was already back in 2006 with feature phones, and you all know that from Clash of Clans, Candy Crush in the West. And Japan also was the first country to deploy a successful messenger business, to really make money with messaging services, something that companies like WhatsApp or Viber are really trying to do. That was already in Japan back in 2005. And most of all, Japan was also the first country to have a working mobile ebook business. So back in 2004, about 90% of all handsets that were put in the market had pre-installed ebook readers as well as comic book readers. And when you think about it, the App Store, Google Play, all that actually was, the concept was born in Japan through iMode back in the 2000s. So Japan has 16 years of experience with mobile digital business models. And when you look at newspapers, so this is a stat on the circulation of newspapers in different countries in the world. Japan is the #1 country in the world in terms of newspaper circulations. That's on the left side. And on the right side, you can see the biggest newspapers in the world in terms of circulation. And the ones in blue are all Japanese newspapers. So amongst the top 5 leading newspapers by circulation, actually 3 are Japanese newspapers. So Japan is actually a very leading nation in terms of digital print, #1 in terms of circulation of newspapers. It actually has also the highest broadband speed at the lowest cost. It's the #1 in mobile commerce. About 45% of all online transactions are done on mobile devices. And it's the #1 country in mobile content monetization. Just to give you an example, last year, 6.2 billion US dollars just in mobile games. So Japan is a very strong country also for mobile. How strong? You can see the statistics. 56% of Japanese would rather give up sex than their mobile phone. I hope this is because of the high tech of mobile phones. For Germans, actually, it's only 16%. So let's look a bit into innovations from startups, innovations from publishers, just to give you a bit of an idea what's going on there and maybe to also keep you inspired. In terms of startups, this is a mobile gaming startup, Coloply. They have a mobile game called White Cat Project. It's pretty successful. 2 months after its launch, it already had 12 million mobile users. And they recently did a tie-up with an FMCG maker, a Japanese chocolate maker, Glico. And what they're doing is they're actually providing limited edition branded content to mobile gamers. So you can have Glico characters in the game. And you also can buy actually the chocolate, and within the chocolate, you can find a small character card you can scan and then use in the game. Another very interesting one is Cookpad. Cookpad is actually user-generated recipes. So this site has about 40 million active users. It has 1 million paying users. And about 80% of all Japanese women in their 20s to 30s subscribe to this website. It has 1.5 million user-generated recipes. It's a very, very successful site. And the pay feature actually is that you find curated content. So the recipes are ranked, they are evaluated by editors, by chefs. So that's a premium you pay for the editorial part of it. And they're very, very good at partnerships and expanding their portfolio. So they went into publishing. They're actually one of the leading cookbook publishers in Japan right now in partnership with a big publisher. They're teaming up with companies, for example, cooking companies, FMCG companies. They're bringing out limited edition products, soups, kitchen equipment, and they're very successful with this approach. Another interesting one is Smart News. Smart News actually is the #1 independent news discovery app in Japan, has around 2.7 million users. It's amongst the top 5 fastest growing apps in Japan. How do they gather the news? How do they aggregate? They have a special algorithm based on popularity, interest of users, and social media analysis. And they also work together with media partners. And the interesting thing is for media partners, for content owners, they can have their own channels on the platform. And the ads and the ad revenues are actually managed by the media partners. So they get the full revenue and the management of the ads that are featured on the partner pages within Smart News. Now I want to talk a bit about publishers. And one is the Nikkei Shimbun. The Nikkei Shimbun actually is the largest business daily newspaper in the world. Just the morning edition only has a circulation of 3 million papers. They also have an evening edition. Since 1999, they already had mobile paid content out there. And as you heard, they acquired recently the Financial Times. So they also have one of the largest news subscription sites in Japan, which is the Nikkei Online Edition. It has about 1.5 million registered users and about 400,000 paying subscribers. And this platform features unique content you cannot find anywhere in the normal Japanese web. This is exclusive content just for the Nikkei Online. And they also have what is called the Nikkei ID. You register actually with your Nikkei ID for free access and also for the paid access. And they have a very, very detailed analysis of the demographics, the behavioral data of their customers, their business customers. And this actually created a new business for Nikkei. They have the leading online B2B communication and media platform in Japan. So they created kind of a Japanese version of LinkedIn, so to speak. This is very, very good for them to monetizing advertisement and also direct communication from B2B. What they also did, 2016, just 2 months ago, they teamed up with Pioneers. I'm sure you know Pioneers in Austria, a very big startup event organization born out of Vienna. And this was the first time they did the event in Asia. And Nikkei is their official strategic partner. And they also featured all at the event, information before the event in the Nikkei newspaper, as well as the Financial Times, picking up all those stories. And the idea of the partnership is also for them to reach outside of Japan and to bridge between innovation businesses in Japan and abroad as a new business source for Nikkei. Another interesting publisher is Kadokawa. They have been around since 1945. Per year, they have around 6,000 publications, 30 animation movies, 50 movies, and around 34,000 ebooks. And a couple of years ago, they actually acquired Japan's biggest video distribution platform, Nikodoga, which has 50 million users. And Kadokawa has their own online distribution platform for ebooks and mangas. And what they also have is they have an online platform where they reach out to aspiring authors, to fans of mangas, and ask them to start creating their own books and their own mangas, as well as comment on initial first releases of manga so they can fine-tune the publications. So Kadokawa has a strong focus actually on intellectual property development. And I will show that here. Recently, they launched their own platform together with DMM in Japan about characters. It's called Kankole. This is character-based storytelling. So first, actually, they started with a browser-based game that had about 2.5 million active players. And then they took the characters and created manga stories. They created animation stories, ebooks, and they also released movies, a very broad range of merchandise products. And they make quite some money out of the IP licensing right now. What they also offer is they also offer content services. So this is, for example, an app for Georgia. This is Coca-Cola Japan, a coffee brand. So they actually produce this app and they also provide the content for this app. This is a magazine app, and they also have the print magazine. And they have about 1.5 million downloads of the magazine application. And on the coffee cans, actually, you have special codes. And you can use these codes to unlock special comics or special publications within the app. Another interesting one is the Asahi Shimbun. It's actually one of the oldest newspapers in Japan. It was founded in 1879. They have about 7 million in circulation. And they recently launched a dedicated innovation lab for new business opportunities. And the Nikkei sees 3 values as actually the core values. Number 1 is gathering information. Number 2 is delivering knowledge. And number 3 is telling great stories. And based on this, they started to launch new services. One, what you see, for example, is a portal for pet owners, but they also launched a dedicated service called Asahi Jibunchi. And this is for people who always wanted to tell the story of their life, write their own life stories for themselves or to publish or for friends and family. So they help users with that, to write that story. They have journalists assisting. They take material from the Asahi newspaper archive to create your own storybook or a story of your own life that is then getting published as a real book. And in 2015, actually, they launched their own crowdfunding platform called Apport. And users can submit their own ideas, business plans, and it has a very broad scope. This is local community projects with rice farmers, product innovations, or also global aid initiatives. And what they do is they use all these crowdfunding initiatives and create stories around it. Those stories are covered in the Asahi newspaper. And they also teamed up with innovation events and started their own innovation events in Japan about startups, about technology, and they also cover them in their newspapers. They also have their own accelerator program for startups. And just a month ago, they acquired Sunright. This is a Japanese content marketing startup. They will start offering specific content services to brands and agencies. So we don't have much time. So what is the takeaway? What are the things you as publishers should keep in mind? Well, what is it you should focus on? Maybe ask yourself, oh, should we go into app development? Should we become social media superstars? Or should we do performance-based direct marketing? Or maybe we should become the next rocket internet and focus on startups. Actually, the answer is very, very simple. It doesn't need to be one of these. You should focus on you are good. Don't try to be good at something you are. And the Asahi Shimbun made it very clear. They said, we have three things we want to focus on. We are very good at gathering information. We are very good at delivering knowledge. And we are very good at telling great stories. They're not talking about we're good at printing newspapers or we're good at delivering apps. So I think this is important. Focus on what you're good at. And there are 5 P's based on the experiences in Japan, the 5 P's of the publishers. And number 1 is portfolio. Try to have a broad portfolio, extend your portfolio, try to explore new business fields. Partnerships. Don't try to do everything on your own. It's impossible. It's impossible to do that. Look if you can find the right partners. Pragmatism. Pragmatism is don't get involved in very deep discussions about why, what, who, when. Be pragmatic about what you do. But also be playful. Try new things. Don't be afraid to fail, because failure is a great thing as long as you learn from it. And last but not least, very important is professionalism. Always think about you're professionals. You're very good at content aggregation, at content editing, content distribution. So always keep that in mind. These are the 5 P actually that made Japanese publishers stay successful until today. Thank you.